Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
JD Vance is a train wreck, and that is changing the conversation. In this interview with Tucker Carlson, who looks like he just gulped more than a few Ambien, JD Vance said this about men and women's families.
But I'm glad you brought up children, because there's actually this answer that JD Vance gave a few years ago, and he name-dropped you in it about people who don't have children working in the government. This is what he said.
It's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
Now, I should note you have two children. They were born before he gave that answer. Harris is also a stepmom to children as well. But what's your response to that?
The really sad thing is he said that after Chasten and I had been through a fairly heartbreaking setback in our adoption journey. He couldn't have known that, but maybe that's why you shouldn't be talking about other people's children. And it's not about his kids or my kids or the vice president's family. It's about your family, people's families whose well-being will depend on whether we go into a future led by somebody like Kamala Harris, who is focused on expanding the prosperity, the freedom, the well-being of our families. And by the way, especially if you have kids and you're worried about climate, choosing between a party that has a plan on climate that creates jobs and a party that still calls it a hoax, even as we went through the hottest day in world history. Or do you want your children to grow up in a country defined by a return to the chaos and recrimination and cruelty that was the hallmark of the Trump era?
Okay, Buttigieg is right, but that kind of attack is at the heart of the perversion that is MAGA. Vance wasn't just attacking couples for whatever reasons don't have kids and millions of Americans who try to conceive and fail every day. Vance was also attacking gay and lesbian men and women who face prejudice and violence in their simple desire to love somebody. And that narrative that Leave It to Beaver families are the only kind of family, well, have you ever watched Leave It to Beaver?
Dad, it's funny.
What's funny?
Well, whenever we cook inside, Mom always does the cooking. But whenever we cook outside, you always do it. How come?
Well, it's sort of traditional, I guess. They say a woman's place is in the home, and I suppose as long as she's in the home, she might as well be in the kitchen.
That's what Vance and MAGA want, that black and white 1950s place for women, and especially black women. A time when Kamala Harris would never be president, but instead be serving JD Vance dinner.
Mentally incapable of serving.
But there's something else here. The Alabama Supreme Court outlawed IVF, causing the entire industry to shake, and thus denying millions of men and women access to starting a family.
Especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade.
And Dobbs, Trump's successful attack on Roe, well, it's just the beginning. And Vance is in lockstep. Most people don't realize that 97% of Planned Parenthood has nothing to do with abortion. But that's not stopping 19 red states who at this moment are trying to shut down clinics who offer much-needed gynecological assistance to poor women across America, again, having nothing to do with abortion. But this MAGA attack will not only make it hard for both Democrat and Republican women to get the kind of health care they need, it will lead to miscarriages and diseases that are life-changing for young women, and in many cases render them sterile. Women who have yet to start a family or are trying to adopt, or, and this is big, those men and women who eschew the stereotype that only people with children contribute to the future, well, under Project 2025, they're all under attack. That's the goal of MAGA, Vance, and Trump. And speaking of Trump and JD Clampett, are these two your role models for the future? Trump's many marriages, the rape of Jean Carroll, 14 other sexual assault allegations, and his bragging about it?
You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the pussy.
Well, does that sound like Vance's characterization of skin in the game?
The entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
The truth is, Trump's actions and Vance's blather fit right into the new Republican playbook and Project 2025 specifically.
The Department of Education is renamed the Department of American Values and mandates a nationwide Christian nationalist curriculum for all schools receiving federal aid. Trump, joined by Speaker Mike Johnson and evangelical leaders, announces that the Department of Health and Human Services has reclassified mifepristone, making it illegal to distribute or prescribe, as well as new HHS regulations that make IVF treatments impossible to legally administer. Trump reverses one campaign promise by declaring a national abortion ban by executive order. Challenges to his authority are rejected by the Supreme Court, which has seen new appointments from Trump after it was expanded to 12 justices. He signs an executive order removing abortion records from HIPAA privacy regulations and announces a new federal data sharing program so states can monitor women's periods.
That's the world they want, people. And despite Trump's latest lie that he has no idea what Project 25 is,
And they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is, it's Project 25. He's involved in Project, and then they read some of the things and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme.
35 of the authors of this 900-page report worked for Trump. And the Heritage Foundation, they're behind it. And here's Trump speaking to them.
Because our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. And I'm telling you, but this is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate.
One more thing, at the GOP convention in Milwaukee, they gave away swag, gifts to the attendees, something like this.
And they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is, it's Project 25. He's involved in Project.
Other than the ironic hypocrisy, the evangelical movement that Trump serves has a not-so-hidden agenda that Trump latched onto.
If you don't like our religion, then we don't want you in our country.
And the goal is to create a theocracy across America, and it's happening. Oklahoma's teaching the Bible in public schools. Florida is allowing schools to question evolution, where evolution coincidentally moves at a much slower pace. Of course, we're talking about Florida, where drag shows aren't allowed, but you can carry an AR-15 into a Starbucks. And LGBT Americans are not only under fire for trying to adopt, but their lives under the evangelical flag are in grave danger.
If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with the woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death.
The MAGA idiots like Lauren Boebert, whose husband exposed himself to teenagers, and whose son not only had run-ins with the law, but became a father before 18, making Boebert a grandmother at 36. Well, Lauren Boebert was then caught on tape giving a handjob to some guy in a theater with children.
Boebert occasionally took a break from being disruptive to enjoy the company of her male companion. He briefly had a grasp on the situation before ushers returned.
And these people have the stones to talk about God and how we should act?
They like to say, oh, Jesus didn't need an AR-15. How many AR-15s do you think Jesus would have had? Well, he didn't have enough to keep his government from killing him.
The American family is changing, and while Democrats embrace it publicly, Republicans pretend it's all the same. But it's the Republican mixed race or gay families that wander through the dark because the extreme MAGA won't acknowledge their own. The white Christian nationalist movement eats its own because their goal is to exclude anyone who doesn't fit into their narrow and bigoted narrative.
Some will say now that I am calling America a Christian nation, and so I am. And some will say that I am advocating Christian nationalism, and so I do.
Jews will not replace us!
The racist attack against Kamala is already underway, and while Vance has already mocked her, calling her a cat lady, and now claiming that despite her status as a stepmom, she doesn't fit into the MAGA Republican world, well...
His honesty, his integrity, his commitment to his faith and his family, his big heart, and his love, deep love of our country.
Here's what's happening now. Young people want a new narrative, and seniors who've seen it all, they want one thing. They want their country back from the January 6th MAGA crowd.
And that means we have Kamala. She's so pathetic.
This whole thing about having to be a parent to have skin in the game, that's BS. I mean, sometimes not having children is as patriotic as hot dogs and apple pie. I mean, just imagine if Trump's old man had worn a condom. What a better world it would be. We're gonna win.
Damn right.
Trust me.
Shut the f*** up, Don.
Who's with me? Oh, yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, right.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.